China accused the West of trickery as negotiations at the Copenhagen Climate Conference became increasingly heated on Tuesday. Negotiators worked through the night to prevent the UN summit from ending in catastrophic failure after developing nations staged a 5-hour walkout. Africa led a boycott by developing nations of working groups, only returning after securing guarantees the summit would not sideline talks about the future of the Kyoto Protocol. That treaty ties rich countries that have ratified it to binding emission curbs, but not developing nations. It does not include the United States, which says the protocol is unfair as the binding targets do not apply to developing giants like China and India. China's Vice Foreign Minister He Yafei said China would not be the fall guy if the summit failed. He told the Financial Times he expected developed nations to play tricks and blame China if a deal fails to materialize. The European Union and the United States called on China on Monday to release a prominent pro-democracy writer and rights activist who faces trial on charges of subversion. The EU released a statement calling on the Chinese government to unconditionally release Liu Xiaobo and to end the harassment and detention. The U.S. State Department said it had repeatedly raised Liu's case with Chinese officials and joined the EU in voicing concern for other signatories of the Charter 08 petition last year demanding Chinese democratic reforms. Liu's lawyer said last week prosecutors had decided to try Liu on charges of inciting subversion of state power for publishing essays critical of the ruling Communist Party. If convicted, the 53-year-old dissident could be sentenced to up to 15 years in prison. Taiwan has promised to investigate reports that local firms sold nuclear technology to Iran, which the West suspects aims to build bombs. The pledge follows a report in London's Daily Telegraph that Iran had set up a nuclear equipment smuggling network using Taiwan companies. The newspaper says Iran obtained 100 transducers, tools that convert pressure into electrical signals that were made in Europe and sold to a company in Taiwan. It said Taiwan sold them onward to Iran. The Taiwanese Defense Ministry said last week it had heard of no such transactions. China's Vice President Xi Jinping arrived in Japan on Monday on a 3-day official visit. It is the first visit by a Chinese state leader since the new Japanese government took office in September. During his stay in Tokyo, Xi will meet Emperor Akihito and Prime Minister Yukio Hatoyama. Japan is the first stop on Xi's four-nation Asian tour. He will also visit South Korea, Burma, and Cambodia. Police in Shanghai say they have rescued 21 kidnapped babies and arrested 47 suspects in a 7-month-long investigation into child abduction. Railway police captured 3 suspects and rescued 2 babies in May on a train traveling from Yunnan province to Jiangsu province. Investigations then spread to Jiangsu, Shantung, and Yunnan, leading to the rescue of a further 19 babies and 34 more suspects. A survey on economic outlooks for 2010 suggests Shanghai could push London into 3rd place as a global financial center in the next decade. The report carried out by a law firm, Eversheds, suggests business leaders think the West is facing accelerated competition from the East. More than 90% of bosses in Shanghai are confident in their economic outlook for 2010, compared with only 22% in London. New York will still be seen as the most significant financial center. London and Shanghai will vie for 2nd place, according to the study. The report canvassed a total of 600 senior executives across London, Mumbai, New York, Shanghai, and the United Arab Emirates. Foreign companies have criticized new Chinese regulations on high-tech sales to government departments. The rule requires sellers of high-tech products to have them accredited based on local intellectual property before they can be listed in a government catalog. Approved products get preference over those without accreditation. More than 30 business groups from the United States, Europe, Japan, and South Korea lodged a protest in a joint letter late last week. Meanwhile, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in China added the move would reduce competition and limit the ability of government agencies to make purchases based solely on quality and price. Beijing automotive industry has struck a tentative agreement for the right to produce several Saab models. According to reports, the deal would allow the Chinese company to produce older versions of the Saab 9.3 and 9.5 in China. However, it would not prevent a separate deal for the entire company. The fate of Saab's 3,500 Swedish workers was uncertain after the unexpected collapse last month of a deal between GM and the Swedish company. And finally, the half-brother of U.S. President Barack Obama has been made an image ambassador for the southern city of Shenzhen. Mark Obama Ndesanjo received the honor from the Shenzhen Youth League for his volunteer work teaching piano to orphans in the city where he lives. Ndesanjo is said to have given piano lessons once a week to orphans in the city since moving to live there in 2002. Ndesanjo, the son of the U.S. president's late father and his third wife, runs a business and consultancy in the city. During Obama's visit to China last month, the two had a brief reunion in Beijing. And that's the BON headlines for now, but we'll be back with more news after this.